You're listening to the New World to Go podcast with your hosts, Redbyrd and BDLG.
Hello and welcome to another episode of New World to Go. I'm your host, Redbyrd, and with me is BDLG. Bordy.
Yo.
Yep. 2 weeks into New World, man. We've been grinding our faces off. There's no doubt about it. We're going to talk a lot about that on this episode. But first, guys, if you're listening to the podcast on any of the podcasting platforms, just leave a rating and review, especially on Apple. 5 stars means the world to us. And if you leave a review, you will be or have potentially be on the show as we read your, if you leave text, we'll read it.
Absolutely.
But dude, hey,
we did.
Hold
sorry,
on, I'm
Red,
just gonna let the people know that. I just want to let them know if you don't want to leave, if you just want to put 5 stars and no message, we're not mad at that. You know what I mean? That's what I wanted to know. I want the people to know that because I'm a 5-star guy. I just hit 5-star and I don't put nothing in the description because I don't really want to. So if you don't want to do it, just leave 5 stars. It's fine. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel. All right, Bordy, what are you gonna say, dude?
No, all I was going to say was thank you to the people that did leave 5 stars.
Yeah.
We had a few of those this week, but there was no message, so that just kind of echoes what you just said. They didn't leave messages, so we didn't get to read them, but we did have some 5 stars. So thank you for that. It helps us out tremendously, and we greatly, greatly appreciate it.
Yes, very much so. All right, Bordy, well, let's hop right to it with the news. All right, dude. So the biggest thing I think in the news or the New World discussion is character transferring. Now, we all know that there's been some server problems. We spoke a little bit about it on the last episode. So basically, there was some new news about the server situation. Them locking down some of the servers as full. And what the future will look like for people that potentially want to transfer their character to a different server. So basically, Bordy, there will be something in the cash shop for free for each character in case you do want to, if you've maybe been leveling on a different server and then in hopes to maybe one day be able to meet up with your friends or transfer to with all your friends together to another server to meet up and start a company or potentially join another company that you had your eyes on pre-launch that kind of the server got full or had maybe like a 10,000 person queue or something like that. So basically, Bordy, we're going to answer these questions for you guys here. You may be asking, how do I transfer my character? Bordy, why don't you tell them a little bit about that?
Yeah, dude. So to transfer your character in New World, you're going to have to log in first, which means if there's any queues, you're going to have to wait in your queues. You then go to the in-game store. If you don't know how to get to the in-game store, you just press escape, and then there's a tab up there that says store. There's going to be a new tab to claim your character transfer token, and you're going to have to leave your company if you're in a company because obviously if you transfer to another server, that company's not going to be there. And then you need to remove any active trading posts, sell orders, and buy orders, and then your character must be located in a sanctuary to be able to transfer your character over.
Yes, and again, guys, it's important to note that, and this is, I guess, we're going to kind of talk a little bit more about this later, but if you transfer your character, you're going to get to keep all of your inventory, you're going to keep your faction progression and alliance, you will get to keep your house and your house decorations, which is really dope, I think. Is pretty impressive that they can allow you to do that. And you'll keep all your quests, progress, and titles. So these are the things that will not transfer. And it's very important for you to note this before you make the transfer. Your company membership obviously is going to be terminated because that company's not going to be on the server that you move over to until whoever creates it at that point, if they do move. Active trading posts, sell orders, and buy orders must be removed. So it's important to note if you have items sitting in the auction house waiting to be bought or sold, you need to take those out. And then your friends list. This is another kind of thing that I guess is kind of difficult to think about. Friends are not game wide. They're specific to whatever server you're on. So all those will be removed as well. So Bordy, I think this is one of the more controversial parts of all this is where can people move their characters?
So any character, you can move your character to any world in your region, but you can't move your character to a world that is full, which makes perfect sense. People are griping about that, I think, not being able to move their character to certain worlds. But it does make sense because you got to remember the whole idea behind the character transfer is to reduce the queue and to reduce the amount of people on the server. So if they just let everyone go to like Asmon's server or something like that, all the people that wanted to go there, well, then that's just going to overload that server, and then we're going to be right back to square one. So you're not going to be able to move your character to a full world. You can't move your character to a world in maintenance. That's kind of a given. And then you can't move your character to a world set that you have an existing character in already, because you can only have one character per server. So I think the biggest thing is that you're not going to be able to move your character to a world that's full. And I have seen a lot of people like kind of get tilted about that, but it makes sense, man, because what they're trying to do is avoid the queues and remove the queues and get those down, so to provide a better gameplay experience. So I think it's perfect. I don't know how else they would do these, man. What is your thoughts on the overall like process they're using for the character transfers? I've been asked that question a couple times, and I don't know what else they would do. Like in my mind, everything they're doing is correct.
Yeah, and it's very challenging. Obviously, I think the misconception initially was that you would be able to transfer anywhere once things settle down. And it gets a little bit complicated because I think a lot of people who wanted to join up with their friends on those servers that are now like kind of marked full and are no longer allowing people to create characters on them. I think those people went off and got a low population server like they should have in thoughts or effort to potentially then go join that server of choice. I know our server's marked full, and we've had a few people that weren't able to join in and play with us initially, who went off and created people on different servers in hopes that they could transfer them over in the same manner. And they're a little bummed out, but the one thing, Bordy, I think is eventually, as I'm sure there's going to be some sort of system that they kind of mark an activity, or some of the people on our world will transfer off, and then hopefully that server then becomes open again for those people that did want to play with us or whatever. I think it's like you said, though. I think it's very tough to think that like, okay, well now we've kind of got the server stable, go wherever you want, because then it's just going to reopen up the problem with the queues and letting people join in the servers that already have queue times would just be a disaster at this point.
Yeah,
and it kind of defeats the purpose of the whole system to begin with.
Exactly. I think another like really important thing that people are overlooking is well, at least this is the way I think it's going to work, is that everyone in the game is going to get a server transfer token for free. Right. So even if you're not moving servers right now, you're still going to have one available to you later on. So if that server's full now, like you said, it may not be full later on. And so then you can use your free server transfer token. There you go. To move servers later after the fact, right? So you don't have to do it right now. I think that's how it's going to work, right? Isn't that your understanding? Like everybody's just going to get a token and she's going to sit there until you use it?
Yeah, I think it's like a credit, So basically, here's like, they did mention this, though. I think it's important. Our team will continue to monitor world population queue times and evaluate the need for additional wave of server transfer tokens to be given out for free. So again, if they notice that there's a problem after people use their token, they'll give another one for free. And then they do want to assure people that players have had plenty of time to find the right server for them, and we'll make server transfer tokens available for purchase in the store later on. We will give notice ahead of time that the tokens are changing to a paid service. So that wording concerns me a tad bit, because it's like, well, maybe eventually if we don't use our token, then eventually like you would have to buy it. Like if you don't use the free one, then eventually like the system's going to go to paid tokens, and then you maybe won't get to utilize your token. But I guess we'll learn more about that then, right? I think maybe, or I would assume it works as like a credit, like so like the currency, the in-game currency. I would imagine it works something like that, where it's just in your possession to use. But for some reason, that sentence or that wording makes me a little bit concerned about that.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see, because you're right. It is It is a little tricky. I think overall they're going to handle things correctly though, right? Like I think things are going to be done well. I think they're trying to take care of their players with this server transfer token. That's something they definitely didn't have to do. They're giving it out for free so that people can move, because they could have just thrown one up in the store right now and charged money for it. They probably would have made a whole lot of money out of that. That would have been a very, very bad move on their part, without a doubt. And I'm so glad they didn't go that route, but they could have, and I think they would have just made a lot of money initially from doing that,
and lost a lot of players.
That they lost a lot of players. It would have hurt them. It would have hurt them so bad in the long run, or well, really in the short term. I think a lot of people would have just bounced, because that would have been kind of foretelling for the future of the cash shop. So I'm glad they didn't go that route. They are giving it out for free. I think they're handling everything appropriately right now for the overload. And right now, to be honest, man, this is a really good problem for the game to have. Like there's so many people wanting to play that we're having this issue of wanting to transfer servers to get the queues down. It's an interesting issue, but I think they're doing a good job at handling it.
Well, and that's the thing. I think it's very obvious. Maybe it was out of humility. Who knows? That they did not expect this many people to be playing New World. Like it's insane. Right. Again, we spoke a little bit about that last.
I'm not sure
episode.
Anybody did. Yeah,
we didn't. I mean, we've been covering the game for 2 years, and we had no idea the reception would be like this. And the thing about it is that you get you break a record on Steam for the concurrent players initially, like at your launch. It's pretty impressive, dude. And we talk about this all the time, like how MMOs continue to struggle with launching a product that makes the user experience or the player experience that at least palatable. And I don't think New World gets enough credit for that. The game is in a very, very good shape, or for initial for an initial launch product. I think the game, and we're going to talk a little bit about more about the content that they brought to launch, but as far as functionality goes, dude, there hasn't been a time other than maybe once where I couldn't play New World. I mean, obviously I had to set on a queue for maybe an hour or so, but once I get in, dude, I get in and I get to play, and the game functions and it works well. And dude, I think I don't know if the launch, other than maybe the queue times, how would they ever prepare for that? I think the launch couldn't have went better for them.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's been great. I mean, we've been playing it now for a couple of weeks, and so far so good. Everybody still seems to be having a good time, at least in our circle, in our community. And yeah, I think it has by far been the smoothest MMO launch I've ever been a part of, for sure. Even with the server queues and hiccups and all that stuff. Said it last week, and I just echo it again this week. Now that we've had a couple of weeks under our belt, it's still the same thing. So far so good. Everything's been going great. I think, or about as good as we could hope for an MMO launch. Yeah. It's impressive, to be honest.
It is, and again, their first move with giving free tokens out, I think, just continues to push down that path of a good relationship with the community, and I'm excited to see more. So speaking of that, patch 1.0.1 came out, Bordy, the first ever live patch of New World, and what it was, dude, is a bunch of fixes, just like we thought it would be. Nothing significant there. We don't want to bore you guys with the bug fixes that happen, but just know that those patch notes are available over there at New World Fans. You can click on there and read the entirety of the patch notes, which again, they're basically quest fixes, AI fixes, there's general fixes, and basically there are things that adjusted the world queue and all that stuff. So nothing groundbreaking. We don't want to again attend to that too much on the show, but just know that those patch notes are available to read over at newworldfans.com. All right, Bordy, so let's hop right in here to the main topic. All right, dude, so we're going to talk about New World. Of course, it's a New World podcast. That was irrelevant. I shouldn't have said that at all. We're going to talk about the player experience, man. So we got our grounds to the ears. We got our ears to the ground. We got our grounds. You know what I mean.
We have our grounds to the ears.
We have our grounds to the ears, bro, and we're
going great.
Big up. All right, no, yeah, but seriously, Obviously there's a lot of hype around New World, and there's some people that maybe don't feel so hype. So we're going to discuss everything about, what the 2-week outlook of New World looks like, what our experience has been, what we've heard from other people in the community, other content creators, obviously, Reddit, Twitter, etc. So we're going to kind of hash all this into a little lump here and just kind of maybe discuss some of the frequently discussed topics. And the first one's leveling, Bordy. So obviously that leveling is what we've all been doing for the most part. Some of us are done. Some of us have a long ways to go, dude. And so I just want to talk a little bit about this on this episode to kind of break down, leveling, the in-game content available, and then if possible, kind of make an inflection or something on the longevity of the game due to as for the launch. So I know this is going to be just mostly speculation at the end, but I think it's exciting to talk about. So we're going to do it, dude, because it's our podcast and we can do whatever we want. All right. It's through a little bit of a fit there, and we're back to leveling, dude. So leveling. Bordy, we've spent a lot of time doing it. I think I have like 5 days played at this point. Not max level yet, although I did not do like the optimal like leveling process. I've been trying to do the side quests, and I've taken breaks to make sure we can hold our territory. Done a lot of PvP missions that net almost 0 XP, by the way. And yeah, dude. So I haven't been like, I wasn't one of those town board junkies or anything like that. But overall, dude, what are your overall thoughts of the leveling process, or the leveling experience right now in New World?
So I think it's okay. I think it's a lot of fun. Obviously, New World is just a blast anyway to play with the combat and everything that you have to do in the game. There's a couple of qualms though that I have with the leveling process, and I'm not so sure. Like, to me, these aren't that big of a deal because I see some advantages. I also see some disadvantages in doing things this way. But whenever you're playing the main story, you kind of get locked, right? You get level capped. You get locked behind certain checkpoints, and to me, that I think that's okay, because then that forces you to go experience other aspects of the game that you might not experience if you were just continuously pushing main story until the end. So I think it's fine to do it that way. But it also kind of hinders like the flow of things a little bit, I think. And sometimes you'll find yourself in the wrong zone, or in a zone that you didn't really intend to go to, or back at an earlier zone doing side quests to try to find levels or whatever. And so there are some downtimes where I think, like, if you're inexperienced or an inexperienced player, if this is your first time to play the game, you and I have had the experience of being able to play in a lot of the alphas and the betas, so we kind of knew what to expect going into this ordeal. But if this is your first time like jumping in, it can be a little bit like, well, now what do I do? I've reached this point where I can't do anything else with the main story, so now what do I do? Where do I go? And I've seen some people kind of complain about that aspect of it, like, I don't know what to do with my time now. Do I go run missions? Do I go try to do side quests in a lower zone? Do I do town boards? What is it that I do? And so then that ultimately can be a little bit discouraging, I think, for some people. Again, for us, it's fine because we knew what to expect. I knew where the checkpoints were coming in at. I knew, when I was going to need to grind, when not. But I do see the qualm there for some people, because sometimes the flow of leveling might get a little bit skewed. But overall, for me personally, I've thoroughly enjoyed the leveling process. As of the recording of this, I'm level 51. So we've been doing quite a lot of grinding, not quite max level, but just like you, Red, I haven't went down the rabbit hole of doing all of the town boards and doing the most optimal way to level. There are those optimal ways that you can just rush 60, and people on our server have most definitely done that. Some people in our company have done that, but we just didn't go that route. I've kind of been slow rolling it, but at the same time pushing forward with levels because I want to be level 60 fairly quickly for content reasons and other reasons. Plus I want to play Outpost Rush, so overall, I think my experience has been good. I think that the leveling experience is good. It's fun. I can see where people can get a little bit confused with what to do at certain times if they don't have a little bit of guidance,
Yeah, and here's the thing, and we're going to talk a little bit about, I guess the overall like in-game, version of New World that everybody's kind of rushing to get to. But as far as the leveling goes, I think when you launch an MMO, the whole idea behind the experience of the initial product is to provide a good, like not drawn out, like overly drawn out, but nice paced leveling process. We
Yeah.
discussed a little bit about the show where it's like, you buy Cyberpunk and you expect to beat it like in maybe 50, 60 hours if you kind of, take your time and do the main story and then branch off on side quests or whatever. Or,
Yeah.
obviously if you spend a lot of time in the game and trying to be a completist, you may get like, 200 hours out or something like that. See, and I really do feel like, New World has, like, I took 2 weeks off to play the game. I've been playing at a pretty decent pace for most days, probably at least like 8 hours, to 8 to 10 hours a day. And dude, I'm still having fun. I'm not max level yet, but I'm close. I don't remember what level I am actually. I think I'm like 53 and a half or something. And so, I've had fun. I haven't really, tried to like min max the leveling process or sweat it out or anything like that. But I have been playing a lot and I've had a ton of fun, man. Really, the leveling isn't too short, which I think is one thing that people get absolutely angry with is if you buy an MMO like this and then like everybody hits max level at 40 hours and then within 2 weeks the game's dead because everybody's got, kind of felt like they've gotten their money's worth and they don't really feel like they're progressing anymore. And so then people, will take a long hiatus, I guess, whenever the next bit of progression or in-game content's released, which is not necessarily good. The leveling process doesn't seem too long either, Bordy. Like, I mean, like, I've been playing and I get, and this is a big thing that we've talked about before. I feel like I'm progressing. I get like probably 2 to 3 hours a day, usually like in an 8-hour stream or something, sometimes 4. And like I feel like I'm progressing. My weapons are leveling up. I think I'm on my 3rd weapon right now and it's at like 17. So, here within probably another day's worth of playing, I'll hit max level on that. And then I'll have 3 weapons max. I just keep switching them out. And dude, so far so good. I was worried initially about the progression or how that progression felt during the level process. But for the most part, it feels pretty good. I'm impressed, dude, by exactly like the system that they put in place for leveling. Just for the fact that like you can almost level doing everything. Gathering, crafting, the main story quests, like obviously, you can level some through PvP. I would like to see, you mentioned Outpost Rush. I would like to see something like an Outpost Rush or an arena available at an earlier level that you could potentially do to level up or get XP. That would be dope. You can level through expeditions. I think it's really a testament to the game design because I know a lot of people kind of feel like insignificant when they're crafters or gatherers or, that they don't get enough XP for what they're doing. And New World is definitely probably the opposite of that. The town board missions are the best way to level and crafting and gathering seems to be the wave if you're trying to get there quickly. One of the things, and me and you have talked about this, the side quests are almost useless as far as XP goes, and PvP missions are useless as well as far as XP goes, and those are the 2 things that I would like to see maybe just given a little bit more love, just a little bit more XP, so you feel that they're worth it. Because again, I've done every side quest. I've been trying to keep every zone free of markers because I'm a little like OCD about that. And dude, a lot of the times I'm wasting my time doing them because I'm not getting anything in reward for them.
Yeah, you'd be much better off if you're just trying to rush level of just doing your rotations of the town boards every 30 minutes, just running around doing those, leveling up your crafting, because as you level up your crafting, obviously you get better town board missions, which then reward you with better XP. And that's how people are just pushing the max so quickly. And that was a problem too in the closed beta with the town board missions. People were just feeding other people materials and they were just leveling up really quickly. And it still is kind of an issue. So I don't know how I feel about the town board missions being so lucrative to level up, though. I do agree that having a way and a method for crafters to level up strictly by crafting and gathering is excellent. I think that's amazing because there's a lot of people that don't even want to do a lot of like combat related stuff. There's a lot of people that just want to do the life skills type stuff. It's awesome that you have the opportunity to level up doing those things, but I don't know how much I like the whole town board thing, man, right? Like the town boards to me they're a cool way to get like additional XP or supplemental XP or something. I don't think those should be your primary way to level. And because the town boards serve a very specific purpose, right? I think a lot of new players that are coming into this thing also are a little bit confused with how these town boards work, because the town boards are intended to level up your town. That's what they're for. They're not intended for an extra like quest to go get XP. That you use the town board missions to level up your town and to level up your fort. That's what they are for. That's their intended purpose. And I don't know how I feel about people just using the town boards to just rush to max level. It just feels a little weird to me. I don't know, man. I wish they would tune that down just a little bit, to be honest.
Sure.
But I do think having that as an option is great. I wish it was more like supplemental, something you would do also in conjunction with other things, not in lieu of other things, right?
Yeah.
Like people are foregoing the entire, whoops, sorry, I just knocked over my mic. People are foregoing like the entire experience of New World to go do these town board missions to just bang out XP. And it's like, man, I don't know how I feel about that, you know? So I think there's some adjustments and some tuning there. I don't know if they're happy with how that's working or not. They may be. Once they get a huge sample size of all these players, you know, they'll see how people are reacting, and maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe tons of people aren't doing it, but it's just interesting that that's still an option because it was such a big deal in the closed beta. So
yeah,
we'll see, man.
And that's how I do my town board missions, just because I do want to make sure I'm like, you know, getting my Azov staff leveled up, getting my camp leveled up.
Yeah.
You know, potentially getting, you know, some of the side quests that maybe open up a gear set or something like that. So I do take town board missions and run the quest, but I know a lot of people don't. I think they just stay in town and like craft and buy and run these little gathering routes from town to town in 3 towns, I think, and just making like a triangle of experience. And I think that's right now the most efficient way to level up. The thing about it is, though, and like you said, I just think it needs to be toned down a little bit to be in line with the other avenues of leveling, and maybe like a PvP missions and other things like that maybe need to be tuned up a little bit, because you know, there's the reason, and we won't have this problem for longboarding, because again, people get max level. And then the town board missions will probably be the same. And PvP missions, we won't really care about the XP we get from them, from that thing either. But it would have been nice leveling up to like be able to stop and actually support my company in the territory, war, and to make sure that we are fighting them back and get
still
some
feel
XP.
productive.
Yes, still feel
right.
Because a lot of the times, and you know, we're governors. A lot of the times I felt like I should not be doing this. I should not be doing the PvP missions. And the thing is like, you know, we're content creators. We want to get max level so we can, you know, progress into like, you know, content and testing and everything like that. So we're like a unique thing. And I do not, under any circumstances, feel like the game should be balanced towards us. And I think that's one of the other things, Bordy, to talk about. And this is the complaint of a lack of in-game content. And this is basically only coming from people that have played the game for like, you know, basically like 300 hours or something like this at this point. And so they've reached the end game, and there are some, I guess, misconceptions about, number one, I feel like there are misconceptions about an MMO, the history of MMOs and launching with in-game content. So Bordy, right now we obviously have Outpost Rush. You got to get geared up, right? You're not going to get those big drops initially when you first hit 60. You're going to have to farm up your item level and continue to work towards that. Outpost Rush, you have sieges, you have invasions, obviously crafting and gathering, leveling up weapons. There's quite a bit there for in-game, for a launch content, or for a launch product of an MMO. But Bordy, you know, one of the things that I think bothers me a little bit, and this is as a content creator, is the negative, I guess, the negative opinion or attitude that some people have when you know, I think 90% of the player base, or probably even more, are still even going through the leveling process at this point.
Yeah. I think, you know, you made a good point earlier when we were talking about the character transfer and all of that stuff earlier in the news section about how the initial phase of an MMO should be the leveling experience, right? Like there's no there's no like expansion out right now. There's, there should be some in-game content to do, but the initial like launch product should be you're leveling, you're learning the game, you're experiencing the world, you're doing all of these things. And so for the people that have just rushed to max level and got there, now they feel like there's nothing to do. Well, this early in the game, man, I don't know that there should be a lot to do, because the game needs to be balanced really around like all the people, all of the masses of the MMO world, right? Like we've seen other games, Red, balance their game and cater to the top 1% of the people that can sit there and play the game for 12 hours a day. Well, that is not your target audience whenever you're talking about an MMO. There are a lot of people that can do that. It seems like there's a lot of people that can do that whenever you're kind of in that bubble, but there's really not. In the large grand scheme of things, man, I would be very curious to know what the average level of players are right now, because I would, if I had to guess, I'd say it's probably mid-range, like 30,
40, I think, probably.
Yeah. So people have a long way to go still. And so the vast majority of people that play MMOs are kind of in our demographic, right? 30 plus, they have families, they have kids. We've talked about this in the podcast before, how people have other things to do outside of just sitting here and gaming. They cannot spend that amount of time just no lifing a game. There's a very select group of people who can do that. And whenever you balance your game around that select group of people, you're shooting yourself in the foot, man. You can't do that. You have to make sure that the people that are supporting your game long term, which is going to be that demographic we just talked about, are those are the ones you need to make sure you're suiting your needs. Now, it does suck for the top 1%, but let's be real here, man. It's kind of our fault, because we're probably falling in that top 1% at the moment. It's kind of our fault for pushing the in game so fast, right? Like we just burned through all the content and pushed the in game, and now people are complaining there's nothing to do at in game. Well, I would argue that point too. And I would say, dude, there is a lot to do at in-game and New World for a launched and released product right now, because you do have Outpost Rush. You have 265 plus dungeons. You have all of the arenas to do that I think people sleep on. You have all the open world dungeons that are 65 plus in-game content that people sleep on. Then you have the overarching game loop of the game itself, which is territory control, right? Like go get your group together, undermine the territory, and try to take over these places. Like that's an in-game. Getting your gear score higher is one of the other parts of the game, and the in-game, like optimizing your builders. There is a lot to do at in-game. I just don't know that these people are looking for it. And they're just, I guess, still wanting to level. I don't know. They leveled up to 60. Now they feel like they're done. Well, there's still stuff that you can do. There is a lot you can do. And yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's kind of a silly argument to make that, like, oh, we're 2 weeks into the game and I don't have anything to do because I pushed all the way to max level into, well, it's kind of your fault. You know what I mean? Like it's an MMO, man. They can't balance the game around that 1% is just the point I'm trying to make here.
Yeah. And I think that's been historically documented. You know, if you drag out the leveling to the extent of trying to prevent like content creators and people that are dedicated to hitting max level as soon as possible around the game, then you're going to have people who don't feel like they're being productive on a if they get 2 or 3 hours to play the game every night and they only get like, a half a level every time they play, then I think you're going to have trouble on that end too. And that's like 90% of your players. Yeah. So then you want to cause a problem with 90% of your players, or do you want to cause, again, there is no problem, because again, I am probably, like you said, we're part of the 1%. I'm not max level yet. Did I completely no life or not? Did I no life the game, or did I sweat it out? No, I did not do that. But I have been playing, like, again, about 10 hours a day, and I'm not max level yet. I'm still having fun. I still feel like I'm progressing. I can't wait to hit in-game, obviously, or hit max levels so I can start gearing up my character and participating in sieges and all of those other things, and just be ready for the next content updates. So that's what I think we mentioned this a little bit on last episode, but I want to talk about just a tad bit here, dude. When do you think, I think the thing people are looking for is your traditional in-game content, which is maybe like a ranked arena system, or potentially like a large group raid or PvE instance event. So, Bordy, again, like, I think most of the people are 30 or 40 right now, if we had to guess. I constantly see people still running around at 19 or 10 that are joining the game. Maybe they just like are having trouble getting in the queues and said, I'm going to wait 2 weeks and then I'll download the game and play it. And I think there'll be a lot of people like that. And dude, I honestly think, as time continues, we talk about this all the time. I mean, eventually the game's going to go on sale on Steam. Eventually, it might, there's going to be a lot of ways to bring, new players in. So, what are we thinking as far as like an acceptable window for them to pull in that type of in-game content to make sure people stay around long term until they're able to maybe put out the first expansion?
I don't know, man. That's a tricky one for me. I think I don't think you want to do it too soon, because if you do it too soon, then your 90% of your player base that aren't there yet, they're going to feel left out. They're going to feel behind. They're going to feel like they are missing out, I think. They have something to work forward, I think. I hear you moaning, dude. You don't agree with that?
No, I agree. I'm just saying, like, I from my past experience, I think sometimes that even incentivizes people to keep playing. Like, here's and this is what this is the only like thing that I remember, and this is particularly, I mean, this is like in every MMO when I get to see like the dope raid gear that I haven't had a chance to do. But in Destiny 1, I remember like I was trying to level, grind, get my light level up high enough to go raid Vault of Glass, because it was so sick to see those players that had done it and had the gear and was like sporting it and repping it. And I've had that experience in like WoW and ESO too. And that's what sometimes like I think maybe is the result of having a raid out, that people actually like want to invest the time in so they can do the raid and look cool and look the gear. But I understand the point, because I think some people do feel that way too. It's like, wow, they're already releasing a raid and these people are already completing this content and I'm still like level 30 or whatever. But
and then that's kind of off-putting.
Yeah.
Well, then that's kind of off-putting, because then if you put out another raid and you still haven't got to participate in the first one yet, I mean, I guess that's kind of on the player for not playing enough to participate in it.
I wonder, I wonder how much.
Because, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, at that point, I don't think we're. Yeah, I would wonder how much they're playing the game, if their complaints are valid. Even obviously, everybody's complaints are valid. Internet. I don't want to, hurt any of you. Everybody's opinion counts, okay? But I'm just saying is that, I doubt that will happen. I think we when the first raid comes out, I think if there is going to be one, obviously I keep saying there's going to be one without any knowledge of anything. But once the first raid comes out, I think there'll be a pretty decent gap between the next piece of content at that point. But
yeah, maybe so, but I don't even know that I don't know that they have plans for a raid necessarily. I think we've seen some leaked content. We've seen. I don't know if they do. They might have plans for a raid later on down the road, but I personally don't think we're going to get like a full-blown raid anytime soon. I think it'll be after the first of the year. I think probably what is more likely to happen is that towards the end of this month, towards Halloween, we'll get an event, and that'll keep players interested for a while. Yes. And then I think we'll probably get a content patch. I don't think we're getting that. I really don't think we're getting that in October. No, I think we're just going to get an event in October, which would be fine with me, dude. We're almost there anyway, bro. We're almost there.
I think that
just
would be
give us
fine
an event.
If there's an activity for the event, like if there's like some sort of unique activity, like trick or treating,
some cosmetics you can earn. Like a week-long event, something like that. ESO does those really, really well. I think that's one thing they do excellent at. I think that we'll get something like that in October. I think in November is whenever we'll get a content update with the Void Gauntlet, Brimstone Sands, and whatever else they add in that content update. That's my guess. That's the game released on September the 28th. I think 2 months after it releases. I mean, that's pretty quick to add new content to an MMO, I think, in 2 months, bro. Like, really? And then after that, it'll be interesting to see what their content cadence will be like. But I think it would be okay. I don't know, man. I don't know how long it's going to take all the other people to kind of hit 60 to kind of get up there and experience some of the content. So I don't know. I don't know what the correct time frame would be. That's just kind of what I expect a little bit of. And then maybe in December or something, maybe we get a really big update with some dungeons or something. I don't know. Man.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't mind being wrong. So I'm gonna take some real shots, dude. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready for this groundbreaking, potentially Nostradamus type of comment I'm going to make here?
Oh, geez.
All right, dude, man. Here we go. Okay, so first, I think you're right. I think we're going to get a little bit of a Halloween. We're going to get a little bit of a Halloween patch with some sort of unique activity that kind of keeps players You know, maybe like an in-game currency that you can only earn for certain, like you said, cosmetics or potential, you know, maybe even drops, maybe like just one, like, you know, like a piece of jewelry or something that is best in slot, not best in slot, but max level or whatever, as you, you know, do this or participate in this thing. After this event is done, which would be probably like, you know, beginning of November, I think they maybe start teasing or letting us in on what the Brimstone Stand update looks like. That might happen or drop late November, early December. And then in that zone, I think maybe the raid won't be available, but I think we'll have a quest line potentially leading up to either a new expedition or a potential raid.
I think we'll get a new expedition for sure. I think a new expedition is already planned.
And we'll get the Void Gauntlet.
We've seen leaks of like 4 new expeditions already. Now, how true those are, who knows? That's just, you know, leaks of stuff that we've kind of come across. But I think we'll get, dude, I think they have expeditions planned for sure.
And here's
now, what
the
you're talking about is a raid, like an actual raid. I don't know that we'll get one of those for a while.
No, I don't think we'll get one. I don't think we'll get the raid then, but I do think they might have some sort of system in place that
to start leading up to it.
Yeah, leading up to it or teasing the storyline to the first like conflict. And you know, I think we've all also kind of been made aware that they're gonna make all the rest of the expeditions a hard mode or something in the vein of that, where you can then play them all at next level. And that would, dude, if they do that within the first 3 months of the game coming out, dude, that's groundbreaking. I don't care what anybody says. I waited for a year in ESO, I think, to get a raid or some sort of in-game level, you know, area. Or so. It was a long time before Craglorn came out. And I know World of Warcraft, too. I mean, the first raid patch, I don't remember when it was exactly, but it did not launch with in-game stuff like that. I'm almost positive. And yeah, so I think if they can get something significant out like that, like a new zone, a couple of new expeditions, a system that brings all the other expeditions up to a hard mode or mythic mode or whatever you want to call it, and a new weapon, which would essentially be somewhat like a new class or a new feature for character building. I think that's massive, dude. If they can do that by the end of the year, man, I think they're on the right path. And I think potentially a large amount of the player base or a large piece of the player base will just be hitting max level or just be getting geared up to close to the max item level at that point. And I think the timing will be almost perfect. And I'm sure they have this somewhat planned out because of that reason, dude.
Yeah.
And there it is, dude. I laid it on the table. That's what I think is going to happen. Let us know in the comments on the YouTube 3 months from now if I was wrong. All right, Bordy. Anything else you can think of as far as
No, I don't think what you said is too outlandish, man. I think that's a possibility, you know. I just overall am excited to see the direction they head. I just hope they don't cater to the smaller crowd. I hope they've learned a lot from past MMOs, and I think they have, man. I think they're going to be on the right path. I have great faith that this thing's going to be really, really good, and they're going to pump out a lot of content and keep everybody engaged and ready to go. At least that's what I hope.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think so too. We obviously maybe rose-colored glasses, but we have no reason not to feel that way because, you know, again, they've produced quite a bit of content for us this far. All right, Bordy. So now that's over. Why don't you tell us about the companies of the week?
Yeah, so we have 2 this week. So the first one is Lotus Trading Company. They're PvP craft company. It looks like they're going to want to do a little bit of everything here, man. They are faction syndicate. Their server is Ohonu. It's an NAE server. They have 180 plus members right now. So I'm assuming they probably have 2 companies, kind of like what we're doing with the Revenant, I would imagine. It says they're a new world company devoted to exploring all that Eternum has to offer. They are a new, unique organization led by a core of group veteran MMO leaders, and they're going to do a mix of the following: settlement wars, PvP missions, territory control, outpost rush, expeditions, world bosses, world events. It sounds like they want to do a little bit of everything, man. And it says their goal is to own a settlement on day 1 and go to war to gain more. I wonder if they met that goal, bro. I'd be interested to see. Yo, if you guys from Lotus Trading Company are listening, shoot us over a message. I'd like to know if you're able to do that. So that's kind of a little bit about them. It says they want to do some organized PvP. They have a little description about that as well, and then we'll link all of their information information in the descriptions below. So go check out Lotus Trading Company if you're wanting to be syndicate and you're on the server Ohonu. Sounds like a good group to be a part of. The next one is called the Khaos Collective, man. They are also syndicate. Let's go, dude. Purple for life. That's what I'm talking about. They are on US West. And I don't see their server name on here. Maybe it's in the description somewhere, but they are on the US West. They're called the Khaos Collective. They're a PVX guild. It says they're 18 plus, so they're looking for more mature players. So it says they're looking to round out their roster for release. So hopefully they've gotten that taken care of. If not, then you guys need to go over there and check them out. The Khaos Collective. It says their main goals are going to be focused on PvP in the form of securing and defending a territory and have a firm grip on the market with crafting and farming. We also intend to push all the in-game content as well. So it sounds like they have more of a focus on, I think everyone's going to have a focus on territory control probably, right? But it sounds like they are
I think you
also
have to focus on it or else you're,
right.
you're in trouble.
Yeah, it sounds like they also are wanting to have a good grip on the market. So it sounds like they're into crafting and the gathering side of things as well, so the life skills side. And it says that they have been together for over 10 years across all kinds of games, from MMOs to shooters to MOBAs and survival games. So it says, while it can be daunting to integrate yourself into a tight-knit community, they assure you that they're always welcoming new members. So go check them out. Sounds like a cool place to be a part of as well. The Khaos Collective.
All right, we appreciate it again, guys, for the patrons and for the companies that continue to advertise their companies on New World Fans. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Again, we've been seeing a ton of support from you guys, and we're very, very grateful for that. We continue to have just tons of feedback. I know in my Twitch stream, I'm sure it's the same for you. I love seeing people from the podcast audience come over and say, "Hey, we love the podcast." It's cool for them to come over and say hi. So don't forget to come over to twitch.tv/redbyrd or twitch.tv/BDLG to come say hi to us. We appreciate it. It's always good to meet you guys in a more interactive place. We appreciate you guys' Patreon. Thank you guys so much for listening. We really appreciate it. And we will see you in another episode of New World to Go.